Welcome back to my channel. If you guys are tuning in for the first time, my name is Marsh Pillai. In this channel, I make videos about cars, house, investing, personal finance, etc. But today's topic, we're gonna talk about how to get the best deal if you are trying to buy a used C8. I'm gonna go into detail giving you the step-by-step process that I did to get the best deal on my used C8. And make sure you guys watch to the very end, because towards the end I'm going to give you guys 3 car negotiating tips that you guys can use with any car buying process, not just C8, any car buying process. Let's begin. So I'm gonna divide this into 5 steps and we're gonna go to each steps in detail. So to get started, the first one is get yourself close ready. So we're gonna go into detail on what I mean by that in a second. So the second step is to finalize your wants and needs in your C8. What I mean by that is like spec and what color, what year, mileage, range, and stuff like that. And the third step is to find a base price for negotiation. The fourth step is to find a comp list, a comparable list, and then start negotiating. And the fifth step is to close the deal by moving quickly. So now let's get into each one of those in detail. So let's go to the first step, get yourself close ready. So what I mean by that, you have to get yourself ready so you can close in a couple of days. So what that means essentially is to getting yourself pre-approved, and to get pre-approved you got to make sure your credit score is up. So let's say, for example, if your credit score is low, work on it for a few months, get your credit score up, and then get pre-approved through a local credit union so you can get the best possible interest rate. Do not walk into a dealership and expect them to finance the deal, because you're going to be out of leverage. They have the leverage when they do that. Even if your credit score is up, they can still come back with a higher interest rate. So it's best for you to have these things in your control. So just to give you a couple scenarios from my life examples, I've had 730 plus credit score before. I've walked into a dealership thinking that my credit score is up, they're going to give me the best rate, but they've come back with 5.5% interest rate, and through my local credit union, I was able to get the same deal financed at 2%, 1.99% to be exact. So that's a huge difference, you know. So that's money you could save, put it in your pocket, or put it in investment or something where it can grow, versus just giving it in a loan, right? So ever since that happened, I always get myself pre-approved through a local credit union or any place where they give you the best interest rate. So that way you walk into a dealership with your financing ready and all good to go. So the second step is to finalize your wants and needs in your C8. What I mean by that is what model year you want, what options that you want, what color do you want, what mileage range that you're looking for, and all those, right? It could be different from people to people. So you have to decide what are some of your wants and needs in your C8. In my case, when I was looking for my used C8, I had few wants and needs. For example, I wanted a red color Corvette and I wanted a convertible because I already had a coupe before, and I wanted the click of a button roof removal process. So I wanted a convertible, and I was okay with the 20 or 2021 model. And I was looking for, from a mileage perspective, I was looking for something under 7,000 miles. And one of the must-have was it should be a 2LT or a 3LT. I didn't want to choose 1LT just because of the options that got missed out in that. So those were some of my wants and needs, and that's how I was able to finalize what I want in my used C8. You guys have to do the same and list out your wants and needs and finalize and come up with your dream car, something like this. So the third step in this process is to find a base price for negotiation. So what I mean by that is, when you have your dream Corvette, you're gonna find out and narrow down maybe like 2-3 listings, and when you call those dealership to negotiate, you need a base price, a comparison price. And how you find that is as follows. So I know we talked about coming up with our dream Corvette based on our wants and needs in the previous step. Now here we're gonna remove all the filters. So what I mean by that is, for example, I said I wanted a torch red Corvette, a HTC convertible under 7,000 miles, 2LT or 3LT, right? So now I'm gonna remove the color filter and I'm gonna remove the mileage filter. I'm gonna start going into these different car buying websites like Auto Trader, Car Gurus, Corvette Forum, private sales, and things of that nature, right? So I'm gonna look for the cheapest 2LT, 3LT convertible Corvette within like 2020 or 2021, right? So in my case, I went to Car Gurus and I started doing this unfiltering, and then I was able to find a silver convertible Corvette 2020 under 10,000 miles for $98,000. The next Corvette that I found was at $101,000, and it was a yellow Corvette with a little bit higher miles. So those were my comparables, right? Those were my base price for my future negotiations. And even though I didn't want it, but the prices are in my range to get a better deal. So that I'm going to use those prices and the listing as a tool to bring down the prices on the listings that I like in the future. The fourth step is to get your comparables and start negotiating. What I mean by that is, per step 2, you're gonna come up with your dream Corvette, right? So in my case, it was a torch red convertible Corvette under 7,000 miles, 2LT, 3LT was my trim package, right? When I put these filters in these different car buying websites, I'm going to find the listings that match this criteria, right? So when I do that, my goal was to come up with 5 to 6 listings that match this criteria. And I was open to shopping nationally because these are rare cars and you're not going to find another Corvette in 30-mile radius, right? So you got to be open for that. So by following this, I was able to get 5 to 6 listings that match that criteria. But the caveat here is the prices were ranging between 110 to 120, right? But per step 3, we know the base price for the lowest or the cheapest 2LT, 3LT trim package Corvette convertible was 98 to 100 grand. There's about 10 to 20 grand price difference. So the way you negotiate is you call those listings and you tell them that you're on the market to buy a C8 and you can close in 2 days. So you tell them that you're trying to decide between 2 listings and one is one of theirs. The conflict here is the pricing, right? So you tell them that the other listing is again a 2LT, 3LT Corvette, but it's priced at 98, but their listing is priced at, let's say, for example, 115, right? And you ask them that if there's any negotiation in the price. And typically the responses that I hear is the sales guy might want to talk to his manager, and once they conversate, they might come back with maybe like $2,000 to $3,000 lower, and that would be their best price, and so forth, right? And you'd repeat the same process for all the 5 to 6 listings that you find, and you tell them that, hey, if you can match that price, I would be able to close the deal in the next 2 days. So in my case, I narrowed it down to 3 listings of a 2020 or 2021 Corvette Torch Red convertible Corvette. And I called all of those listings and I just told them that, hey, the other Corvette that I'm trying to compare yours against is priced at $100,000. Is there any flexibility on the pricing? If you can match the price, I can close the deal in 2 days guaranteed. So in my case, out of the 3 listings, 2 of them didn't entertain me, but one of them, they were priced at listed at 110. I asked them to price match me at 100,000 and they did not accept it, right? So you're gonna hear a few denials, and that's perfectly okay. If none of those dealerships accepted your offer, maybe it's a little bit too aggressive, right? So maybe it's time for you to offer a little bit more, and that's exactly what I did. So instead of offering 100, I called the same dealership and I said, hey, I can do 105. Would you be able to match that? And I can close in 2 days. And as I anticipated, they accepted my offer at 105, and that takes us to step 5, which is to close the deal. In our case, we were already close ready before we even began the process, right? So you should be able to close the deal in 2 days because you're already pre-approved for the financing and all those good stuff, right? So in my case, I flew down to Tennessee and closed the deal in 2 days. And the reason why I stress you have to move quickly is because you convince them to drop their ask price. And in my case, it was 110 and I had them to reduce it to 105. So if somebody else walks in the next day or the next few days and offers something slightly higher, you know what's gonna happen, right? The car salesman is gonna go and sell the car to the gentleman who is gonna offer more. So to avoid that, you have to be able to move quickly so you can close on the deal. So those are the 5 steps that I did to get the best deal on my C8. Now let's get to the last part, which I promised before, is the 3 car negotiating tips that I've used that has worked for me so many times over the course of multiple car buying process over these years. So the first step is to check the Carfax of the listing, right? So what I mean by here is when you check the Carfax and if the car has been listed for more than 60 days, you know that's not selling quickly, right? So you have more leverage and you use that and you talk to the salesperson and say, hey, this car has been sitting for a while. Would you be willing to drop the price to so you can be aggressive because you have the leverage in most of the cases. And car dealerships make money by selling cars, so they incentivize to sell the car and close the deal. So more than likely they would meet you halfway or even get at the price that you're looking for, right? So that's tip number 1 that I've used that has worked for me so many different times. And tip number 2 is to look for inconsistencies or inaccuracies in the listing. So let me explain that with an example, right? When I bought my C7 Corvette, the listing had mentioned carbon fiber roof, but when I went to purchase the car, when I looked at the car, it did not have that as an option. That's an expensive option, right? So I used that as a leverage to have the dealership drop the price by $500. So when you start looking for inconsistencies or inaccuracies, and if the listing does not match the vehicle, use that as a leverage to have the dealership drop the price still. So that's tip number 2. Number 3 is to simply wait. I know it's very simple, right? But a lot of times as car lovers, we just fall in love with the car so much, and that makes us do things that are not smart. We would sometimes accept the price even though we know it's inflated. So to have the discipline to wait will do wonders. I'm not gonna lie, man, sometimes you may lose the car by following this, but I mean, there's pros and cons. So if you like a listing, you call that dealership and you give them the best price that you can offer. And if they do not accept it, you walk away and you wait. A lot of times dealership call you back maybe within a few days, maybe a week or so, right? They're here to sell the car to you. So you better believe that they're gonna call you back. And when they call you, this time you have a little bit more leverage and you can use that to your advantage to negotiate on the price. Car sales business is all about rotating the inventory. A dealership would rather sell you a car at a lower profit than letting the car sit in their lot for months and sometimes years. So that's all I have for you guys today. Appreciate you guys watching so much. And comment below what you guys think if you have applied any of these techniques in your car buying process. I would love to know. With that said, I'm out and I'll see y'all on the next one.